So everyone pay attention. Look at your screen. Okay. I want you to look at your screen. I want you to pay attention to me because I'm going to read something like I read something. I think this one is very important. And so this one is called, this is on my Substack at donlemon.com. The Fire This Time, Why Black Voters Are Sitting This One Out. We've carried democracy long enough. Don't expect us to keep saving it if it won't save us. And so I started with something different this time. And I implored people to read with an open mind and open heart, not with ideology, not with their personal whatever, just to sit with it for a while. And I said, before you read this, I ask one thing. Come with an open mind, not defensively, not politically, just honestly. You don't have to agree with every word, but sit with it. Hear what's being said, not just the pain, but the patience, not just the frustration, but the history behind it, the hope that still flickers beneath the exhaustion. Because you might have noticed something at the recent rallies against Donald Trump and Elon Musk, something that stood out precisely because of its absence. Or maybe you didn't notice. And that is the point. Look at the picture. And I combed through many, many pictures, and they all look pretty much the same. The crowds were big, all right? The signs were bold, the outrage was loud, but Black folks, we weren't there in large numbers. Doesn't mean that we weren't there. We weren't there in large numbers, and maybe it's time we talked honestly about why. Because we're tired, I write. Tired of always being expected to show up, to vote like our lives depend on it, because they do. Tired of carrying the burden of democracy on our backs while others vote their wallets, their privilege, their fear. Tired of being called heroes every 4 years and then ghosts in between. Heroes, come out and vote, come out and vote. And then all of a sudden it's like, where are you? We don't, who, what are you talking about? You're ghosts. Nobody sees us. Black voters have been the firewall, the conscience, the soul of this nation. We've saved democracy from itself more times than history dares to count. But lately, there's a quiet resistance growing, not against the issues, but against the expectation that will always be there, unquestioning when the alarm bells ring. Because here's the truth, too often, when it comes time to cash in on our promises, on the promises made during election season, we're left holding nothing but slogans and broken trust. I'm reading from my Substack at donlemon.com, and I think this is an important one. Let's talk DEI, shall we? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was sold to the public as a tool to address historical injustice. But who's really benefiting from it? Not Black folks, not in proportion to the pain we have endured. The biggest recipient of DEI programs and affirmative action have historically been white women. Then others, and by the way, I fact check all of these over and over and over again. And I should put the facts in this article so that you can see it. I'm going to start doing that. Then others, Asian Americans, Latinos, members of the LGBTQ plus community, and in some spaces, even white men who manage to position themselves as diverse by proximity or identity politics. And meanwhile, Black people, especially Black women, are still fighting just to be seen, heard, and paid what they are worth. Now, I know this may not sit well with some people, but I am talking about how people are feeling right now and what the community is saying and feeling and doing, and some people may not be aware of it. So whether you agree with it or not, whether I agree with it or not, is not the point. I'm telling you what is happening. And now somehow DEI itself has become a dirty word. Affirmative action, a slur. What was once held up as a pathway toward justice is now used as a punchline or political weapon. And one of the twisted justifications of this backlash, the movement that rose up after George Floyd. Are you guys listening to me? I hope this microphone is on. Yes, people marched. Yes, they put signs in their windows and posted Black squares on Instagram. But instead of digging deeper into the root causes of that movement or that moment, the systems, the policies, the culture that allowed it, America got uncomfortable and then resentful. Are you listening? Because I'm telling the truth here, whether you like it or not, or agree with it or not. And then resentful. That discomfort turned into backlash. Companies quietly dropped their commitments. Politicians changed the subject. And just like that, equity became a threat. And while we're naming truths, here's another one. When this country had a choice between a twice impeached, now convicted felon who was found liable for sexual abuse and a Black woman who warned us of the economic disaster we're now living through, white America made its choice. The majority of white men, and again, in general, and it's true, I fact checked it, and yes, white women too, chose Trump. They chose chaos over competence, chose grievance over growth. They dismissed a qualified, clear-eyed Black woman who saw the storm coming, and now we're all standing in the wreckage she tried to prevent. A recession is looming. Prices are surging, and still no one wants to admit that she was right. Now, listen, I told you, not a Democrat here, not a Republican. I voted for democracy. And the person who happened to be fighting for democracy this last election was Kamala Harris. But somehow we're the ones expected to fix it again, every single time. But now we're the ones expected to fix it again. And then there is the selective outrage. Okay, truth. Look it up. Facts. When Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, there was global grief, and rightfully so. It was horrific. And I stood with Israel when those attacks happened. It was horrific, rightfully so. But soon after, some in the Jewish community and even beyond turned their focus not on the perpetrators, but on the Black public figures like Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama. They wanted statements, outrage, condemnation, as if these women who have spent their lives being symbols, role models, and punching bags, that they were now obligated to speak on command, as if their silence was somehow more offensive than the suffering itself. And they weren't alone. Beyonce, LeBron James, even Meghan Markle. People who are constantly under a microscope were expected to drop everything and respond immediately and correctly, or risk being labeled complicit. I lived it. People ask me, why didn't this person put out a statement? I was like, I don't know. You have to ask them. Why do you feel that why are they compelled to do it? This is history. This is a history of decades, if not centuries, of fighting in the Middle East and the fight between the Palestinians and the Israelis and the Jews and whatever. Black people did not cause that, but Black people stood and still stand with Israel and with Palestine. But where was that same energy when Black mothers in Mississippi were forced to give their children bottled water to bathe in? When lawmakers in Tennessee expelled 2 young Black legislators for raising their voices on gun violence? When books about our history were stripped from classroom shelves in red states and blue ones too? We are always expected to perform empathy, to show up for everyone else's pain, while our own trauma is constantly minimized or ignored. We've always stood up for our brothers and sisters across communities, across oceans, because that's who we are. That's who we've had to be. That's who we've had to be because of our own history and relationship, not only to America, but to the world. But standing for you is not the same as standing with you. And right now, after the choices so many of you have made, not just in the distant past, but in the recent, very present moment, that solidarity feels like a one-way street. Are you guys hearing me? So when the outrage machine gears up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump, 2 billionaires with more in common than either side wants to admit, Black folks are asking, where were you when we needed you? When voting rights were gutted, where were you? When police reform stalled, where were you? Hello, you guys love to talk about John Lewis. What about the Voting Rights Act that he fought for? Where are you with fighting for that and putting out statements and standing up for that? And where are you when police reform stalled even after George Floyd? When the promises made to us turned to dust? This isn't apathy, it's strategy. It's a refusal to be used. It is a declaration. We will not keep setting ourselves on fire to keep this country warm while others roast marshmallows on the flames. We know the stakes. We've always known the stakes. We were part of the stakes. We've lived them. Literally, lives were fought and lost, lynched and shot and beaten. So we know the stakes. We've always known them. But don't expect us to keep saving democracy if democracy won't save us. Now, that is on my Substack at donlemon.com. So look, if you want to know where I tell you the truth on this program every single day, I write about it on Substack in ways that you may not experience on this particular platform. So I would urge you to go there and read some of the stuff that I put on Substack. And there are some videos as well. But I'm telling you, in this article that I write, or op-ed, or whatever you want to call it, Substack, I think that I am channeling and relaying the views of many people of color in this country who voted the right way. Not all Black people voted for Kamala Harris, have voted the right way in this election and in all elections, but for the most part, as I say, generally, the majority of us vote to save democracy and to not only to save democracy, right, to save women's reproductive rights. And that means all women of all colors. We vote in that direction. To help protect women in the workforce, minorities in the workforce, whether you're Asian, Latino, all of that. And many times the folks in those communities vote against us. The Indian American community vote against us, even though on the backs of our ancestors, you have the rights that you have to be an immigrant in this country. But you don't think about that during the election. Because you are, and I'm just being honest here, you're voting selfishly. You think you're voting for your own interest. You're voting because you want the proximity to whiteness. A lot of you don't believe that you are minorities. You don't believe that you're Black. You don't believe that your skin is Black. You think that you are different because somehow your skin is, maybe a different shade of Black, or your hair is a different texture or whatever. But you are also a minority in this country. You may not have the same relationship to this country as African Americans do because you weren't brought here, your ancestors on a slave ship. You chose to come over because of the rights and freedoms here in America. Most of them for you as an immigrant brown person, you have gotten them because of Black people and the civil rights movement. But somehow you don't know the history. You manage to ignore it or forget in your plight to be associated with white people. I hear people all the time, I'm not Dominican, I'm not Black, I'm Dominican. What does that mean? Okay, fine. I am a white Hispanic. What does that mean? I'm a white Latino. I'm a brown person or whatever. I'm not Black, I'm Indian. Okay, fine. But show some respect and have some sense of history. You should be thanking Dr. King and Black people and Malcolm X and everyone else and John Lewis and Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, the people you call race baiters, for fighting for your rights. And I think in general, Black people are tired of always having to what? Save the democracy every single time and then getting beaten up and called names because we choose to talk about it. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.